Good morning, YouTube family. Good morning to all the viewers and St. Paul Christian Fellowship family. I'm Pastor Antonio Woolard here with my trusted right hand man, Deacon Carl Jones. We're at St. Paul Christian Fellowship, 2238 Courtney Avenue in the lovely city of North Virginia, 23504, and it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the YouTube viewing land. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers of St. Paul Christian Fellowship that may not make it out today. I don't know who's coming or who, will or won't be here, but we just thank God for all the mothers. I thank God for Shirley Williams, who is my mother, and Deacon Carl Jones is going to thank God for his mother, because our mothers are our sheroes. They have been there for us since birth, and we're getting up in age now. And I spent yesterday evening with my mother, and just wanted to sit down and eat a baked potato with her from Jason's Deli. And we just talked about some good old times and good things and different things. And I shared some stuff with her that she didn't know I was doing when I was younger and made her laugh. And she was like, "Did you do that for real?" And I said, "Yes, I did." So we're celebrating mothers on today, God's women in the earth, and how God called woman to a very special and purposeful role, how God called her to be that teacher, that nurturer, that one that would, raise the children up, take care of the home, be a helpmate for that man, for her husband. And so I just want to share a little bit today from the book of Esther, and there's so much in here, but I just want to share a little bit from the book of Esther, because God called this young girl. She was young. He called her through a beauty pageant, and the queen sat down, Vesti. She sat down, and she wound up marrying the husband, the king, rather. She married the king, and then, God just blessed her life. He used her to stop what was supposedly an annihilation plan for the Jews. Sanballat and Hermit, these guys was gonna try to annihilate the Jews, and instead God used her uncle Mordecai to influence her, and she hooked up with the king, and God blessed the people of Israel and kept them and preserved them through Esther. And so I want to read a little bit in your hearing, and we're going to talk about this just for a few minutes to just kind of celebrate women and their purpose in the earth, or what God uses women to do. And I want to end with something in Proverbs, chapter 31 at the end. So here, let me read these words in your hearing. It says, in chapter 1 of Esther, it says, "Now it came to pass in the days of Ahijah." This was the Ahijah who reigned over 127 provinces, from India to Ethiopia. In those days, when King Ahijah sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the cathedral, that in the 3rd year of his reign he made a feast for all his officials and servants, the powers of Persia and Media, and the nobles and the princes of the provinces, being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his excellent majesty for many days, 180 days in all. And when these days were completed, the king made a feast lasting 7 days for all the people who were present in Shushan the cathedral, from great to small, in the court of the garden of the king's palace. There were white and blue linen curtains. It goes on to talk about these decorations and the majesty of the king, and he was going to throw this big feast. And so Esther was called during this pageant. It was a beauty pageant going to take place. His wife, Queen Vesti, She was the one who put the feast together for the women in the royal palace, which belonged to the king, and Esther was a part of it. She was in it, and it says in the latter chapters that God called her for such a time as this, that the women, that Israel or the Jews would not be annihilated. And so just want to say a few words about her. Her title serves without variation through the ages. This book and the book of Ruth are the only Old Testament books named after women. So like Song of Solomon, Obadiah, and Nahum, the New Testament does not quote or allude to Esther. It does not, and one of the reasons I believe why is because most people think because the book was named after Esther that she led. She didn't lead. I just shared with you a little earlier that she was influenced by her uncle Mordecai, and then she married the king. And so the king was the leader. And a lot of folk take those things out of context, especially the book of Ruth too, and say that women are supposed to lead. No, they don't, because God set it up for the man to lead, not the woman to lead. But the woman has a very special role as a helpmate, as a teacher, as a nurturer. She gives birth. The household is hers. The household is hers, because if the house isn't right, if the house is disturbed and the house isn't right, just like a mother bird, if somebody's messing with her little chicks, her little birds, then that nest is disturbed and she's angry. And so if the house isn't right, then there's disturbance in the house. There's no peace if the woman is not at peace in the home. And so I just wanted to share this little bit with you about Esther, because she was called out by God at a particular time to save her people, the entire nation of Israel. You have to read the story. I don't have time. We don't have the time to really give you, talk about it and give you background, and then try to come up with this piece out. This thought that I'm thinking about is that, at this particular time, God called her, this young girl, to save the people of Israel. And so a lot of women sacrifice. They substitute sacrifice. They do a lot of stuff that's really never talked about, or they're not shown throughout the year and appreciated. But this Mother's Day, we want to celebrate the women of God. We just want to celebrate women, period. We want to celebrate mothers that have children. We want to celebrate single women that possibly could have children and start a family. But we just want to celebrate women because they're very special to us. And if you read throughout the Bible, you will see women that played these important roles, like the prophetess Deborah. When Gideon was about to go to war, God used her in a purposeful way, in a specific way, and God used her so that she would be able to, not lead Gideon into war, but she would just be there, and she could pray over him, and she could, tell him that, the Lord called you to battle. You need to go out. And then you have people like Sarah that, the reason why the covenant and the reason why you see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is because after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was Sarah's. But she brought about, I call her the mother of the covenant because of the fact that she had those boys. And God has kept his covenant through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then you had other women throughout the Bible that did very special things, like Ruth, but Boaz led her. She just came back with her mother-in-law and took care of her mother-in-law, and she came to the Lord because she was a Moabitess. And so, God used women in specific ways. You had Mary in the New Testament. She birthed Jesus in this earth. And so God uses women for purposeful things. And so we just wanted to say today that for such a time as this, men, love on your wives, as Paul wrote to the Ephesians in Ephesians chapter 5, that men are to love their wives unconditionally. He said it like this, though: love your wives as Christ loved the church. That's unconditional. And then he told the women to respect their husbands as they respect the Lord, or subject themselves to the Lord as they would their husbands. And so we are celebrating women today. We just want to thank God for all the women and what they mean to us. My great-great-grandmother, my great-grandmother, my grandmothers. I just want to thank God for all of the different women that he's had in my life to mold and shape me and to the man that I am now today. And we just want to thank the Lord for all that he has done and all that he is doing. And so I want to look at this last piece that I want to read to you in your hearing. And because we're going to get started shortly, we got about 35 minutes before we get started. I want to say that if you're ever in the 757 region, I want that you would like to come and fellowship with us. If you are as far away north as Richmond, or you are far away south as North Carolina, but if you're ever in the 757 region, please come and fellowship with us and worship with us. I want to read these words in your hearing concerning this woman that God called blessed. He called her blessed, and I have to read all these words because of the fact that she was called for such a time like this. So look at Proverbs 31. In Proverbs 31, starting at verse 10, God says these words, and maybe he was thinking about how he started the order of the family with Adam and Eve, and they started their family. But it says in verse 10 of Proverbs 31, who can find a virtuous woman? For her worth is far above rubies. So, he has placed this woman in a place of not only purpose, but a place of plan. And he's planned it in a place of greatness to me. He says, the heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax, so she's an industrial person, or she's an entrepreneur and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. So she takes care of not only her family, but she takes care of other people that's in her household or in her life. She considers a field and buys it, entrepreneur. From her profits, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. So she's physical. She's physical, and she doesn't mind working. She doesn't mind getting up, starting the day working. She perceives that her merchandise is good and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. So she's sewing. She's making sure her husband's clothes are nice and her children's clothes are nice and there ain't no rips and tears and holes. She put patches on stuff, and she makes sure that they at least look decent. She extends her hands to the poor, so she's a giver. She's very charitable, and she gives. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. So she makes sure that if she sees some homeless people around her or whatever, she'll make sure they get a plate of food, or they'll get something to eat. Maybe a bologna and cheese sandwich, and a bag of chips and a Coca-Cola, soda, something. She is not afraid of snow for her household. Look at that. She even when it's cold, when it's wintertime or whatever, she still deals with everything in the house. The woman takes care of the household. For all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates. They respect her husband because of her. Whatever she's doing, they respect her husband because of how she got it set up for him. They respect him in the community, in the marketplace. They respect him in the temple place. Wherever he's at, they respect him. Look at, and this is behind all the stuff that she's doing. Watch this. When he sits among the elders of the land, she makes linen garments and sell them. So again, she's an entrepreneur, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. So when she speaks, she's not gossiping. She's not talking stupid or foolish. She's not a foolish woman, as Job's wife was declared in his writings. He called his wife a foolish woman. She's not foolish. It says that, she speaks with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. So she not only speaks wisdom, but she shows it. Her actions is kindness out of, that's her behavior. She watches over the ways of her household, talking about her children now, and does not eat the bread of idleness. So she's not sitting around waiting for something to happen. She's motivated. She's determined. She gets stuff done. Her children rise up and call her blessed. So she's raised the godly children, and her and the husband raise them up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Her husband also, and he praises her because he loves her unconditionally. He respects her because of who she is. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. And this is God speaking to her. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. And so that's the end of Proverbs 31. Just wanted to show you God's called woman, how God has called women. They fear him. They love him. And this woman was a perfect example of what a virtuous wife should be like, of what a woman should be, a woman of God to her household. It didn't say nowhere in the verses that I read to you, and that's why I read it to you, is because it said nowhere in those verses that she leads the household, that she is the leader of her household, that she is the leader of her husband. And so for people who might be upset with this piece by the time you get out and folk hear it, for those men that listen to their wives and let their wives lead, and they follow them, well then, I just read to you, there's nowhere in here where, and if you go back to the book of Esther, you won't see where Esther led anything. Esther influenced her husband, which was the king, based on the influence of her uncle Mordecai. And so it didn't say she led anything. It says that, God just blessed her. God blessed her, and she was able to preserve the Israelites or the Jews. And so we just thank God for the women today. We just thank God for godly women. We thank God for married women. We thank God for single women. We just thank God for all that he is doing and all that he has done and all that he's going to do. So I pray that men, you would continue to bless your wives, that you would bless your daughters, that you would bless the single women, that you would bless those, your moms, your grandmother, if they're still with us. My mother's still with us, and she's in her 80s, and I love God for that. I just thank God for it. But I spent last night with her, and we just did some, had some good times, went back. So celebrate the women in your life on today. Celebrate them because they are worthy of it. Christ has made them worthy of it. Give them their roses while they're living. Give them something. Do something for them and show them you appreciate them and that you love them. And so we're getting ready to depart from this place, but not the presence of God. I want you guys to have grace, peace, and mercy until we meet again.